Welcome to our Friday Live. It is Friday, May 17th. We want to make sure that we are on to come to you to talk about retirement income structuring. So, welcome to the broadcast. If you don't know who I am Shateka Husser, helping you to retire before you expire. So, if that's what you desire and what you aspire, we are the ones you hire. Our goal really is to get your bank account on fire with a whole lot of lifetime tax free retirement income that you will not outlive. And so today's topic is really around retirement income structuring. As you can see in this presentation, I'm going to ask you a few questions. I want you to kind of ponder those. Definitely take notes because we're going to jump right in and give you some information that I feel like you will need if you're looking to structure your income for retirement. So the first question is, what does retirement mean to you and when do you plan to retire? How long will your retirement last? So you see those three questions there, right? Most people can't answer these basic questions. So it's important to start there so that we know when we begin, like Stephen Covey says, beginning with the end in mind. So let's identify the gap. Most people don't understand that there is going to be a gap or what that's going to look like. So I'm going to make this slide a little larger so you can see. And so the annual income needed in retirement minus the annual income for Social Security or any pension, right? When you take those into account, right, and you add those up, what additional annual income will you need? So in other words, annual income needed in retirement, what is that number going to be? If you're making $100,000 today, it's probably going to be around $70,000 during retirement. That is the average, 70%, depending on your lifestyle. So if you're going to maintain your lifestyle, are you going to, live below your means? How are you going to live in retirement? So that can be anywhere between 60 and 90%, but on average is about 70%. So if you're making $100,000 today, you're going to need about $70,000 tomorrow, right? So that be the case, what is your gap? And how we identify your gap, again, is take your Social Security and what are you going to be receiving. You can go to ssa.gov and determine what your Social Security is going to be. You could then add your retirement pension if you have any. Most people don't. Okay. And then you can add what we're going to talk about today, what you can do to help supplement your retirement because you're going to need that so that there is no gap. The whole goal of this conversation is to make sure that you don't have a gap. So again, your annual income needed, subtract in your annual income from Social Security. And of course, any additional income you're going to need is going to be determined from that. So we're going to move to the next slide. So early retirement considerations, fewer accumulation years, longer distribution periods, impact on Social Security, healthcare, Medicare, impact on pension benefits. All those things are going to be something that, of course, you need to take a look at. Most people don't think about the hit list when they think about their retirement, right? So the hit list is this. H is for healthcare, long-term care. Nobody plans to get sick, but unfortunately, you may have a heart attack, cancer, stroke, or dementia while you're in retirement. What is your plan for healthcare? Medicare does not cover long-term care plans, right? So the number one thing you need to look at is the H in the hit list for retirement. And you want to make sure that your retirement plan has a healthcare component to it. Inflation. How are you going to make sure that you keep up with inflation? In other words, 3% growth, right? 3% growth every year from now until you're retiring. What does your money look like? And how you want to make sure that you do something about it today to take care of your older self tomorrow. All right. So that is one of the other questions I have for you. The last one is, of course, T for HIT. So T is taxes. What are you going to do to make sure that you have some type of tax advantage planning going on? How are you going to get in front of taxes so that you don't pay a lot of taxes while you're in retirement mode? Because ideally, you want to not have to pay taxes, right? And so there's ways that you can position and structure your income today so that you don't have to pay taxes tomorrow. So let's jump right into it. More accumulation years. I'm going to kind of skip through these because I really want to get to the heart of the matter, which is really more around understanding the different components to your retirement plan. And I want to show you what we did for a client. And basically, I want you to see this. So you see this right here. This is basically someone that say at age 49 and they're looking to see how much income they'll get from their Social Security when they're at age 62. This is, of course, an individual that has they're 62, and so their first monthly amount would be like 2238, right? If they decide to hold off and not take their Social Security and they waited to say they were 70, they would have 3964. So you see how that monthly amount increases literally every month from the time you turn age 62 until you turn age 70. 70, there's no more addition. It's not going to increase anymore after the age of 70. So if you're going to try to lock it in at any time, it would be 70, right? Because then you start having RMDs, which are required minimum distributions, meaning that you have to take Social Security, because the goal is to have all that money expended while you're living, right? So that's why RMDs come into effect. So let's say you're 62, you decide you want to take your money because you don't want to wait, because you feel like that 2238 monthly can help you. You probably can invest it somewhere, whatever the case may be. You may not want to wait till you're 65. All right. So it just depends on what you have going on. If you have a retirement account, you may be more susceptible to waiting because you rather just wait and have the greater amount because you already have income coming in from somewhere else. So the claiming age that you would like to be will determine how much money you still need to supplement when we talked about that gap earlier. Okay, so now let's just say you are 62, 22, 38, and you're that person that needs $70,000. You know, what does that look like for you in income? So 2238, multiply that times 12, whatever that amount is, subtract that from the $70,000 that you would need in retirement. The difference is going to be what you would need to supplement your income with, right? So I know this is a little small, but this is a 33-year-old male, right? So I'm just going to point these numbers out to you because this is how we design plans. As you can see, this is a debt policy. However, you have what's called a guaranteed income, then you have the non-guaranteed, right? So we always work off the non-guaranteed because ideally the non-guaranteed is what has actually been happening in the past, right? We know that past results cannot equal future results. So we never want to we never want to sell you a dream, but we always want to make sure we look at, well, what has the history stated about this and what has been the trend. So if 10%, right, has been the growth over the last 10 years, we could use 10%, but we won't. For the purpose of illustrations, we use 6.9. Okay, because what are we looking at? We primarily look at the S&P 500. How has it been trending? When we look at the last 40 years, there were 6 years, I should say 7 years, where there were negative growth in the S&P 500. And in those 7 years, the person wouldn't have lost anything, right? They wouldn't have lost a penny. Now, if they decided that they want to use, say, what we call high market volatility indexes, they could probably get a lot more than 10%. However, it's a lot more risky. So the question we often ask, our clients is, what is your risk tolerance? Are you high risk? Are you low risk? And identifying that is how we actually structure the different indices inside of their account to determine how we want their account to grow, and that'll determine how their account is going to be credited. So as you can see here, this 33-year-old is paying $67.70 per year, okay, at the age of 33. I'm going to move myself so you can see the last. Okay, until he's basically 64. As you can see in that second to the last column, there's the net cash value. That is the non-guaranteed assumption that the net cash value is going to be about this amount based on 6.9%. So if he waited till he was age 62, he'll have $375,388, as you can see there, right? So let's move to the next slide. This particular person wanted to make sure that they paid off all of their debt. So they wanted to have $60,000 as soon as possible. In 8 years, if they would have put this amount in, $8,400, they would have paid $60,000. I should say they would have received $60,000 in terms of what it is that they would have accumulated in the net cash value. Now, moving them right along, they actually would have an income of $65,000 at the age of 65 until they expire. So 30 years of paying $8,400 into their account, they would have about $723,000. All right, by the end of your age 64. And basically what happens is that cash value is going to be basically a policy. It's going to be like a loan, a tax-free loan that they're going to take out, and it's going to have tax-free growth. They're going to have chronic, critical, and terminal illness, right? So they have any type of long-term care like we talked about earlier. So as you can see, the hit list is here. The healthcare is covered for any non-Medicare medical challenges. They have inflation that's being combated because their money is growing while they're sleeping. And as you can see, the cash value is growing at $723,000 or more. Matter of fact, we know it's going to be more because we can guess or estimate that it's going to be more because we're doing this at an illustration rate of 6.9% versus the over 10% that the S&P 500 has done. And so they'll have that income of $65,000 until they expire. Now you might say, well, $8,400, I don't have that every year. Based on what you put in, it's just like Social Security is what you're going to get out. The more you put in, the more you're going to get out. It's really simple. I think sometimes we make things a little challenging or more harder than what it has to be. But really, you just want to understand, what is your budget? The number one question that we ask is, what is your budget? And if you're living above your means today, you definitely won't have that much money to put towards your income for tomorrow, right? So the goal is to try to live below your means, put away something so that you can be able to take care of your older self in the future, right? So let's say for this, in this example, $8,400 a year, that's not going to change. That's going to be the same. Now, if he decides he wants to take out money because he has an emergency, he wants to pay off his mortgage, wants to pay off, some type of roofing challenge, whatever he has going on, he has that cash value that's built up inside his policy to be able to take that out, right? So we're talking about emergency fund is being covered here. Cash flow is being covered here because it's growing while he sleeps. Debt can be paid off, right? And so these are all of the different components of becoming financially free. And so I would ask you this question: what is your financial independence number? Do you know what your financial independence number is? If you don't know, go figure that out, right? And basically what that says is all of my debt. What is all my debt? Rather, it's IRS, student loan, whatever, mortgage. What is that? And then once you figure out what your financial independence number is, that can be a goal for your debt payoff policy. Or you can say, I want to have a retirement account, but I just want all my debt paid off by the time I'm ready to retire. And you can determine what your age is. And you would be able to see that by looking at the numbers. Okay, I have 660. In this case, at the age of 63, they have $665,000 that's accrued and $1 million in a death benefit. And so if something was to happen to him, his wife would get 1.6 million, right? Because it's adding the cash value with the death benefit. But let's say that's not the case. He continues to live, but he ends up having some type of long-term care needs. He definitely could leverage that $1 million death benefit to take care of that non-Medicare debt medical challenge that he's going to need. So you have to keep that in mind. And so that's really what we're talking about today. We want to keep this really simple. Just wanted you to be able to see these are some of the priorities when people have their policies. And this is kind of what we built into this particular one. Mortgage paid off, debt paid off at 8 years, debt freedom by age 56, priority at age 65. They have $65,000 tax-free income coming in. All right. And they have medical, covered if they have any type of qualifying illness like a heart attack, cancer, stroke, dementia, Alzheimer's, those types of things. So I don't care what you have going on right now, 401k, 403b, 457, TSP, IRA, Roth IRA. I don't care what you have. You're not going to have the hit list in those types of plans. They are only mutual fund based. They are governed by the government. You have no control of your money. You can't take money out for an emergency without having to worry about, some type of penalty, especially if you're, ahead of 59 and a half, right? So if you're not 59 and a half, you're going to pay a penalty twice, right? Because you don't have the age. And then of course you're going to pay the taxes that's not been paid on it. So the goal is to try to put your money where you're not going to be taxed, where you can make your money work for you while you're sleeping, where you can have the hit list covered, healthcare, inflation, taxes covered, emergency fund covered, liquidity of your money, control of your money, death benefit. So I heard someone say, years ago that of course the death benefit is wealth on sale for your beneficiary, right? Something happens to you. I don't care what you put in there. You didn't put $1 million in there. but you have $1 million automatically generational wealth, right? And we can go on and on about that. But the goal here is just to see that now you have a retirement account that can be leveraged for legacy, as well as a healthcare plan, as well as an emergency care plan, debt payoff plan. All these different plans literally roll into one step. We like to call this a retirement readiness income account. And so your plan that you currently have, I know that it doesn't have retirement readiness income account rolled in. I had every plan out there. I've had the IRA, I had the TSP, had the 401k, all those, but they didn't have these components. And that's the reason why we are here today, to help you understand all that you may be missing out on and need. For some, you may not need all of that, or you may feel like you don't need all of that. But I will tell you that 70% of people will need a long-term care plan. 70% of people to 80% of people age 65 or older will need a long-term care plan. What is your plan going to be? Are you going to deplete your current retirement account? Or is your family going to deplete your current retirement account because there is no plan? Or are you going to try to put a plan in place today to take care of your older self tomorrow? That's what we are talking about. So if you want to deep dive this a little bit more, if you want more information, we have a lot of literature that's floating around. If you want to be one of our VIP community members, definitely want you to join us. I'm going to put a banner below. Definitely want you to like, comment, subscribe, share this. But I want you to go to Shateka.com and register for our next masterclass. Or you can absolutely download our retirement planning guide and checklist. We also have a quiz on there. So if you want to see how ready you are for retirement, you can certainly go there and take care of the quiz as well. All right, let me see if there's any questions on any of the platforms, since I am simulcasting today. I don't see any questions. All right, well, feel free to message retire at our number as well if you want to join our text community. There's a lot of people that joined over on TikTok. I don't see any questions. All right, so if you want to join our text community, you can certainly send a text to 678-736-6496, as you can see at the bottom of the slide there. And that's going around. And so we'll get with you when you send masterclass, you get the link for the masterclass. If you send retire, you will get the retirement planning guide. That's pretty much how those are set up. But we thank you for joining us today. Have a winning a wealth weekend, and we will see you at the top because you belong there. God bless.